Seems like YouTube these days are a full-time job, but I have one more comment to respond to on my last YouTube video, and then we'll get started. Thank you so much. Now that I got the day's work out of the way, going on my social media, responding to different comments and such, I love to sit here in this area in my home. It's very cozy. It's very warm. It's easy to get work done. This arrangement here has definitely seen better days. The calla lily right here, leaves are starting to turn yellow, as you can see here, and it still has a lot more growth in it. The heather, it still looks good, but it's at the point now where I like to pull my heather. And then my cyclamen, they're doing fine, but I don't like to really stress my cyclamen out because I use my cyclamen from season to season. I love to have arrangements in almost every room in my home. So in order to keep that vibe going, I have to stay on top of my arrangement because you never know who's going to drop in for tea time, for coffee, or just a simple glass of ice water, some good chat, some good eats, and some good tea. And I'm not talking about the drink tea. Y'all know me by now. Y'all know I'm gonna go a different route. So let's get this girl out of here. And I'm gonna take this to the room that I normally disassemble these in, especially when I have perennial plants. The process is a little bit different. Now, the calla lily is a bulb. The cyclamen is also on a corm, or a bulb, if you will. And then we have the heather here, which I love the heather, and I am starting to see more and more use of the heather, and I love that. I love that. So all of these are going to be processed different. So I'll take this to the processing room, and then I'll decide if we're going to use the calla lily again in the next arrangement. I already have something different planned. I just thought about it. It's time to elevate this in a different way than how it is now. Let's do it. Clean off the table. And I like to do that first, so that way it gives it a little bit of time to settle in before we come in and put the new arrangement on it. We'll set this container down right here. Now we're going to head outside because I need to check and see what my show is looking like because we had some temperatures that dropped down into the 20s. So let's go check it out. I'm going to start my morning chores, but I wanted to give you all a look at what the containers look like. We had temperatures that dipped down into the 20s overnight. I'm not at all concerned about these containers. And in fact, I'll show you what I do to get them back on their feet. Daffodils off to the side because the wind is blowing this way, so it pushed everything over to the side. Everything. How dreadful. These containers are covered because we were having a lot of strong winds, and in addition to having strong winds, the temperatures dropped down into the 20s. We were also getting threatened with snow. But for right now, the temperatures are on the rise again, so I'll uncover these now. Let me forewarn you, when you see what these containers look like, it's going to look like, girl, it's about time to throw them in, but they will bounce back, and we'll continue to keep an eye on the containers in the front, so that way you all can see what to do with your containers, because it's important to know when to pull them and when not to pull them. So let's look at these, and then we'll water them in. We'll give this a real good watering. Try to keep whatever flowers you can off of the soil. One more. And another one. I have another watering can I'll pull back. Well, actually everything is sitting up. So I'll water these in and move on to the next task. I have these containers watered in. Everything right now is just taking up the water. Already they're starting to stand up a little bit more. This container right here, everything looks smushed in. Now the tulips may end up getting pulled. I may pull those out, and that's fine. I mean, it just comes with the game. But they have been here for quite some time. Tulips really don't last as long as we think they should last in our gardens. So it's a lot of work for a little bit of bloom, but I'm okay with that. One of my pet peeves is when I have flowers, especially bulbs that go over before I get the chance to plant them up. But one thing I've learned is that if you do have bulbs, like for example, we have these tulips here, I'm still going to plant them up because they look pretty good. I know I won't get as long as a show as I was planning to get out of them, but the lesson learned from here is that when you have tulips, any type of bulbs that you're forcing, you want to make sure that you're able to have a continuous bloom. And in doing such, sometimes you may get containers like this where the tulips go over before you get a chance to pot them up. I have some screen here. We'll use the screen and put that down in the bottom of it. This is how everything looks really quick. Our tulips here are still kind of holding on a little bit. I did have to pause my activity because we got some really heavy rain one day. And then the next day, the temperatures dropped really low, so I didn't plant out anything at that time. For the most part, we'll still get a few days out of here. I have enjoyed them in the area that they've been being kept at, so it's not a total loss, but I didn't get as much time outside that I should have been able to get with these. Hyacinth, can you all see the play off of these? Now, I could come in on the other side and do the same thing, but I wanted it to be asymmetrical this year. I wanted to give you a 3 type of container here, and then on this side over here I wanted to be able to give you just that single container here, because if you think about the flow, single container, then over here we have a trio of 3, of 2, 3. So if we walk back up, we do have another branch down. I can't wait to get this tree limbed up. I love this. I do any pansies down in the bottom because I wanted the tulips to just shine on their own. I just came to grab my jacket really quick. The temperature has dropped. So let's head outside to the front so we can check in on the containers. Now, with the containers in the front, I did not do any watering. I did not do anything. The mere temperature alone will cause your plants that you put out in the garden, will cause them to spring back up. The containers in the front were well hydrated, so they had enough energy. It's just that when the temperature drops down low, it causes them to just shrivel up like that. Once the temperature warms back up, you'll be able to see that your containers have new life, if you will. Let's hop outside. Let's go check those out, and we'll come back and get everything set up. You can see that the containers have perked back up just like I thought they would, just like I knew they would. As the day has progressed, the hellebores are now standing up, which is, I knew it was going to be doing that. So the hellebores still look good, but the remnants that we had of the tulips, those have all blown away. So the tulips, I could leave the foliage or I could come in and just pick them up. And it kind of looks the same. Matter of fact, I'll just show you. We'll head over to the next container. Same thing with these containers right here. We're really just left with the foliage and kind of the remnants of these tulips here. You can leave the foliage and let them shrivel down, but in true tulip form, these are only going to turn brown. So the best practice would be to just go ahead and just pull these out of the container. For these containers over here, same thing. And actually you can see where these were nipped by the cold a little bit more than the other tulips. So best practice would be to just come in and just take these out of the containers. But for right now, I'm just going to clip off anything that doesn't look attractive. The great thing is they're in my backyard. So even though they're an eyesore right now, I'm the only one that's seeing them. And we have one tulip bloom that's kind of just hanging on for right now. So for the most part, the containers have either picked back up or picked back down. That's kind of normal. I'll come back in and I'll address these containers a little bit later, but I'm very excited that our hellebores picked back up. So that's one of the things to keep in mind. I am not going to be covering these up tonight. They should be fine. They've been well watered in, so they're going to be able to soldier on through tonight's weather. We are going to get low, but not as low as we was last night. I'm going to take a plain sheet of paper, set that down first. And then I'll take my largest book and set that on top. By using the white sheet of paper, if there is any oil that's going to come up from polishing the table, then it'll hit the white piece of paper first before it hits my book. Now let's go get our beautiful plants. This is the container that we're going to be using today. And what we're going to do is we're going to just plant And then from us planting everything up, then we'll talk about the plants and the plant care, and we'll put the arrangement back in its place. Let's go over the components because it is jam-packed. Remember, when you're using flowers for your arrangements that grace a table, you don't want to skimp it down because you want those arrangements to look full, just like a bouquet of flowers. So we have a ranunculus in the top, and I did a mixture of ranunculus to kind of pull out those burnt orange tones, those burnt ambers, and then also a plain canary yellow ranunculus. Then we have our Gerber daisy or Gerbera daisy, depending on where you're from. And then I came in and I brought that deep, dark, romantic tone, and we have a cyclamen here on the side. And then I dressed the bottom with purple pansies, but then they all have that yellow throat. So we're playing and we're tugging on the color wheel. Like, for example, if I show you what one of the osteospermens look like. Here's our osteospermen. Can you see how we're tugging on the color wheel here? But then on some of the other osteospermens, you can see that underlying magenta, that underlying burgundy hue, which gives it is a beautiful color. Let's get this in its place. This is what the arrangement looks like now. The ranunculus here, you see all of this foliage? There's going to be more ranunculus coming out this way. And you can really see the play and the variations on color here. All of that was done by design. So for example, if we look at our osteospermen, can you see how it's a nice play off of the osteospermen? This is what we look like up close. It's absolutely amazing, and I'm feeling it. It looks so angelic. And I did plant the container all the way around. I did not sit the arrangement on top of the books. I wanted it to be off to the side for a reason. If someone stops by and they want to take tea or take coffee, which I don't have anything on my schedule, then I can always just move this to the stand. Just absolutely beautiful and amazing here. The textures, everything just gives. And then we also have the play on the purplish, burgundy-ish cyclamen, and then you can see we have a beautiful pansy and viola, which still, if you look at all of this, look at that. It's a beautiful play. All the way around 360, you can see color here. The Gerbera daisies. I did swap the one out in the back. It only had 2 stems, so I swapped it out for one that was fuller. Had more available blooms. Put that one back in its plant can. I just love it. And it gives that range. Okay, there we go. Okay, that shot right there. You can really see how I'm playing with that gold, that orange, that salmon, if you will. And it's beautiful. This breaks it up because I really didn't want a monochromatic look, but I just wanted something to be beautiful and romantic. And I think this really does it. And hence the reason why I chose the Floret books. Do you see the play on the colors here? Absolutely stunning and beautiful, or at least I think it is.